All right, Larry Kruger here from the Pig and a Pickle Crew Show with a little 49er Bengals preview. And of course, Pig and a Pickle, the best barbecue in all of Northern California. Check them out in Emeryville and Corte Madera. They're open 7 days a week. And this preview brought to you by Mojo Fantasy. This week in Mojo Fantasy, I'm going with Brandon Ayuk with an anytime touchdown. Brandon Ayuk over 61 and a half receiving yards. Jamar Chase with an anytime touchdown. Christian McCaffrey with an anytime touchdown and T. Higgins over 45 and a half receiving yards. Check that link in the description and make sure you use the promo code Krug and get up to $100 matched on your first deposit. And everybody who does it automatically enters into a chance to win a Brock Purdy or a Nick Bosa jersey, which will be awarded on Thanksgiving night in our post-game show after Niners Seahawks. All right, let's talk about the Niners and the Bengals. One of the games of the week in the NFL. Can the Niners bounce back after losing two in a row? The Bengals are hot. They're rolling in. They've won 3 out of 4. All right, first the injury report. Debo Samuel's out. He continues to have that fractured shoulder. He's not going to play until after the bye week. Brock Purdy was cleared in the concussion protocol. He's going to start. Trent Williams is questionable with the ankle. I think he's not going to go. We'll see. It's more of a game time decision for Trent. If he can't go, Jalen Moore starts at left tackle. Well, let's talk about some of the matchups in this thing and some of the key elements of the game. The 49ers are allowing just 59.7 rushing yards per game to running backs, fifth fewest in the league. And Joe Mixon has less than 3.5 yards per carry in 3 of his last 4 games. So I think the Niners can stop the run. And I think that's going to be a major key in this game. I also like George Kittle to go off. Cincinnati allows the fourth most fantasy points per game to tight ends this season. They're really not good in the middle of the field. Kittle gets a lot of extra work when Debo's out. I expect Kittle to dominate. 49ers also score points at home, almost 36 points a game at home, second in the NFL only to Miami. Christian McCaffrey has scored a touchdown in 16 straight games. I think he continues to dominate. He leads the NFL with 598 rushing yards. But here comes Joe Burrow. And the one concern I have is that Joe Burrow going up against a Niner pass defense that just gave up 378 yards to Kirk Cousins and couldn't get off the field. That is a concern. So Burrow's the healthiest he's been all year. He's really good against winning teams. Joe Burrow could win this game all by himself. That to me is the biggest concern of the day. The one thing about the Bengals, despite the fact they got Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and some great weapons, they've only had 8 plays of 20 plus yards this year, fewest in the league. They don't get explosives. Couple notes: Kendall Sheffield and Willie Snead were activated off the practice squad, so they'll go in this game. The Bengals are 2-0 against the spread coming off a bye the past 2 years, and they've covered by over 10 points a game. So that's also a concern. They've had 13 days off. 49ers on a short week. They played Monday night. Also, Bengals are good at long drives. Their average touchdown drive this year is 10.6 plays because they don't have explosive plays. They're going 74 yards a drive. They drive the length of the field. So we'll see if they can do it against the 49er defense at Levi's. Bengals are top 10 in pressure rate. And if Trent Williams, who didn't practice all week, can't go, he's questionable with the lower ankle sprain. It's Jalen Moore time. Now, Jalen Moore played well last week, but can he play well this week? And, I'm really concerned about, this passing game last week, Jordan Addison lit up the Niners. And Jordan Addison out of the slot was huge. T. Higgins operates out of the slot. He gets Isaiah Oliver. Does he roast Oliver? The Niners are looking probably for another slot corner. They're not going to get one before tomorrow's game. So that's a big one. Can the Niners shut down T. Higgins? The Bengals are the third most pass heavy team in football. They pass on 67% of the time. So this is going to be a Joe Burrow to Jamar Chase, Joe Burrow to Tyler Boyd, Joe Burrow to T. Higgins kind of a game. Can the Niners defense stand up to it? That's really the question. The Bengals aren't an explosive play team. They're going to methodically drive it down the field. But can the Niners win on third down and get Joe Burrow and company off the field? That to me is one of the big questions. Also, defensively, the Browns showed that if you don't play with the two deep safeties, the two high safeties, you can have some success against the Niners. The Bengals defense plays with two high safeties at one of the lowest rates in the league, 27%. So in a lot of ways, it's a lot of the same thing they saw against Cleveland a few weeks ago. So, we're gonna find out exactly what the Niners can do in this game. The Bengals defense is 30th against the run, 28th in yards given up per carry. So it's a run the ball game. It's a McCaffrey, Mason, Mitchell run the ball kind of game. Um, you know, as I mentioned, Kittle could thrive as well because the Bengal defense has been bad over the middle. The Niner D line better win because Cincinnati's offensive line metrics have been awful, and it's time for that Niner defensive line to dominate. That's really, I think, a real key in this football game. The Niners have been great with Christian McCaffrey. They're 17-3 since they added McCaffrey. So, can McCaffrey dominate in this game and get a much needed win before the bye? That's the question. The Bengals are undefeated against the NFC this year. They beat the Rams, they beat the Cardinals, they beat the Seahawks. We'll see. If the Niners can get it done. Niners have been dominant at home. They're 3-0 at home and they're winning by an average of 23 points a game at home. So can that trend continue? It's going to be a little extra juice because it's alumni weekend. There'll be over 100 alums there. They're honoring the 81 and 88 teams that won the Super Bowl over the Bengals. Once in Miami, once in Pontiac. Eddie D's going to be in the house. Anytime Eddie D's in the house, there's some extra juice for sure. Joe Burrow is a tough guy to sack. He's been releasing the ball in 2.4 seconds on average. That's the third fastest time in all of pro football. So, can the Niners get to Burrow? And if they can't, can they get Burrow off the field on third down? You better get ready to defend the screen. The Bengals enter this game with the highest screen pass success rate in the league, and maybe one of the key matchups is going to be when the Niners are on offense is Jalen Moore if he draws the start at left tackle against Trey Hendrickson. Hendrickson's got 8 sacks. He lines up exclusively on the defensive right side, so he'll get Jalen Moore all day. And Moore was really good last week. Can he be really good this week against Hendrickson, who's got a great motor? Chris Forster told me, man, Hendrickson and Hubbard get off the football. So you really got to be good out of your stance. The Niners also have to tackle a whole lot better. They've missed 19 tackles over the past 2 games. How they tackle will probably determine if they can win this game or not. Um, if the Bengals decide to blitz, that's advantage 49ers. Brock Purdy ripped New York for a bunch of yards when they blitzed him a few weeks back. He was 15 of 19 for 192 against the Minnesota Blitz. Blitzing Brock Purdy is not the way to go. He recognized where it's coming from. He knows how to defeat it. He knows where to go with the football. You're giving him a defined read. I'm going to be really eager to see if the Bengals blitz him in this game. Um, the one thing that's kind of alarming is the Niners aren't setting the edge physically this year, and they miss Samson Ebukam. What an underrated loss he has been. He was such a great edge setter last year in the defense. They haven't had that kind of player this year. It's going to be a big night for Colton McKivitz, or a big afternoon. McKivitz had 6 pressures allowed against the Vikings. It was far and away his worst game. He draws Sam Hubbard, and that's not an easy matchup. Now, the backdrop of this game is the trade deadline, which comes up Tuesday. According to Diana Rossini of ESPN, the Niners are working the phones at the deadline looking for edge rush help and cornerback help. I'd love to see him get Kenny Moore. I'd love to see him get Montez Sweat. The talk is that the Commanders want a second round pick for Montez, and they're only getting offers in the third round. If I'm John Lynch, I'm giving my second round pick. It's going to be a late second. Um, maybe you could get them to throw in a day 3 pick to make it a little bit more fair. But if it comes down to you can have Montez Sweat if you're giving up your second round pick, I'm giving up my second round pick. Another subplot in this game is how the Niner defense bounces back. They got roasted on third down against Cousins last week on Monday Night Football. Steve Wilkes' 0 blitz call at the end of the first half was called a messed up call by Kyle Shanahan. Man, that's putting your defensive coordinator on blast. And I'm eager to see how Wilkes' defense responds in this one. The other one is this is a big time run game because the Bengals have an excellent pass defense. They've allowed a quarterback rating of just 79.7 this year. So, the other question I have is, if this game's close in the fourth quarter, does Shanahan get pass happy? We've seen that the last couple of weeks. The Niners were within one possession the entire fourth quarter against Minnesota. They ran it 3 times. They threw it 13 times. The 49ers were within one possession in the fourth against the Browns. They ran it 3 times. They threw it 13 times. Can they run the ball in the fourth quarter? I mean, that really is the question. How does Brock Purdy bounce back from the concussion? He had a 124.3 passer rating, then he gets concussed and he throws 2 picks, and he had a 4.2 passer rating. What does he look, 6 days later after the concussion? He cleared the protocol, but what does he look like? That's gonna be one of the subplots in this game. The reason the Bengals have struggled offensively is they can't run the ball. I mean, that's one of the worst rushing attacks in the NFL. They're averaging 69 yards per game, 3.5 per carry. If the Bengals can run the ball in this game, that's going to be a terrible sign. The Niners have to take away that Bengal run game if they want to have a chance to win. They haven't been committed to the run. That's really the problem with the Bengals is that they've yet to run for 100 yards in a game this year because they haven't committed to the run. Will they commit to the run in this game, or will they just go with Burrow and put it all on his shoulders? That's going to be an interesting subplot to watch. And then offensively, the Niners got to run the ball because the Bengals can't stop the run. They're giving up 142.8 yards per game. That's 29th in the NFL. And they've given up over 5 yards per carry. That's 30th in the NFL. Niners have to run the ball and control the clock and keep Joe Burrow and that Bengal offense on the sidelines. How does Jake Moody kick is going to be a major story in this game. In both of the last 2 losses, Moody's been inconsistent. Missed the game winner in Cleveland from 41 yards out. Missed another 40-yarder last week against Minnesota. He did make a 55-yarder, but man, a lot of pressure on Jake Moody to get it rolling. The Niners offense has really struggled to score the last 2 weeks, but they have been able to move the ball. What it's been is turnovers. 2 fumbles from CMC in the red zone, 2 interceptions from Brock Purdy, a couple missed field goals. They've got to be able to score some more points. And then Brock Purdy, expect more short passing. He's completing 77% of his passes on short throws. So the key matchup on Niner offense against the Bengal defense, I think, is Brandon Ayuk against Cam Taylor Britt on the outside. Taylor Britt is a nice player. Niners wanted him in the draft. Bengals traded in front of them and got him. And Taylor Britt, though, has been targeted 32 times this year. He's given up 17 receptions for 300 yards. The Niners have to exploit that matchup. It's time for Brandon Ayuk to go off. And really, at the end of the day, you got to protect the football. 49ers have 5 turnovers in the last 2 games. That's a big reason why they lost. Purdy's got 3 picks. McCaffrey's got 2 fumbles. They got to take care of the football if they want a chance to win in this game. And then lastly, we mentioned that Burrow gets rid of the ball, but Nick Bosa held out for 44 days and got the bag. It's time to play like Nick Bosa. You got 2.5 sacks through 7 games. This guy had 18.5 sacks last year. It's time to get him rolling. Does that mean move him around? Maybe. Does that mean, play some more games up front? Maybe. But Nick Bosa's got to get home. I mean, it's as simple as that. All right. Thanks to Pig and a Pickle for being the title sponsor of the Krug Show. Check them out in Emeryville and Corte Madera. And thanks to Mojo Fantasy. And make sure you check that link in the description and make sure you use the promo code Krug, Krueg, and they'll match you up to $100 on your first deposit. And everybody who does it automatically enters into a drawing for a Brock Purdy or a Nick Bosa jersey, which will be given away on Thanksgiving night after Niners Seahawks. And thanks to all you guys for supporting the Krug Show on YouTube.